My name is Getrude Matshe, and I am the book midwife here in New Zealand, working with this amazing group of people who are trying to write their books in 40 hours.
Okay.
And what I thought we would start off with is just you could share with us your journey, how you got started, and we've got a lot of questions we want to ask. We have the rest of our group on YouTube watching, and they're going to be posting their questions. So we'll just go with the flow.
Okay. Well, I got started in the ebook business about 12 years ago, before they even knew how to spell Kindle, and long before iPad. I was selling PDF copies of mostly personal development books, self-help books, and mostly books that I had found in the public domain. I studied up on public domain law and was comfortable with that, and we sold thousands and thousands of books, and I built a pretty significant business using that to create prospects and to create customers. And over the course of the last 12 years, we've had one book in particular we've given away over 400,000 copies of, and that built me a huge list of about 300,000 people. And so when the Amazon Kindle thing came along, I had just published not long before that my very first book. It took me, you were talking about 40 hours, it took me over 50 years to write my first book. So, you know, 40 hours is significantly less than that. But I had had it as a goal for many years, and I let a lot of things get in the way of that until I woke up one year and said, this is the year. And then halfway through the year, I still didn't have anything done. And so I made a deal with myself that if I could reach a certain goal, that I was going to go rent a cabin in North Carolina and sequester myself there and write my first book, which I did do. I wrote it in less than 90 days in the mountains of North Carolina, published it in October of 2003. It sold about 75,000 copies, translated into 4 different languages. And you know, I realized this is not that difficult, and in fact, it shouldn't have taken me 90 days. In fact, I didn't need to go to North Carolina to do it. And all of that I learned as I went along. And then when someone asked me how I did everything that I built, I decided that was worth a book, and so I actually wrote that book by speaking it. It's very difficult for some people, especially myself, to get that very first chapter done. And I discovered a method where I can speak my books. And it's not dictation, it's different than dictation, but it's a method that helps me because I speak faster and better than I write. And so I speak my book and then have someone transcribe it and then send it to an editor who does the first, goes through it the first time, then sends it back to me. And I kind of put some personal touches on it, then goes back to editing, and it does several rounds editing before it's finished. But I've written my last 5 books that way, and so I think they're pretty good. I got the #1 goal-setting book at Amazon, the #1 goal-setting book at Apple. I've got a book right now actually called How to Write a Book This Weekend, and that's the #1 book in direct marketing at Amazon, and #3, I think, in authors, one of the authors categories. And I actually wrote the book in a weekend, as I have done several books. And as I was telling Tony before we got on this call, your program, 40 hours, well, that's about what a weekend is. And so it's certainly achievable. It's certainly doable, and you know, it's. I think when people do one, if you get your first one done, you realize how simple it is, and they just get easier and easier and easier. So I think I'm into 8 books now, and it's a pretty decent income from it. But bigger than that, it generates thousands of leads every month that I get an opportunity to create an audience that I can share other things with, and so it allows me to build a consistent group of responsive people. So every time I release a book, I just let them know about it, and I've automatically got some sales that take place because of that. So I don't know whether that's the long story or the short story, but that's what it is. So how's that?
That's fantastic. So what I want to do is we're going to go through the room and just get everybody to ask some questions, and I'll start. The one thing that I found, especially when I'm coaching people, I'm an inspirational speaker, and like you, I find it very easy to speak my books into life. And through this exercise, I found that it's not that easy for everybody else. And people tend to doubt the knowledge that they have, and they get in the way of letting that knowledge come out. So what would be your advice to somebody who feels they have something to say, but are being held back by what they think of themselves as a person and the value that they can add to the world?
Well, I mean, I really think that's probably the case with the reason why most people don't write a book, and I think that's probably the reason why most people don't achieve most of the goals that they have, is because they don't have the belief. And James Allen wrote in As a Man Thinketh that belief precedes all action. So if you don't believe that your book will be accepted, or if you don't believe that you're good enough, then chances are you're never going to put yourself out on a limb and put a book out there. So, you know, that's a process of going to work on yourself and doing a lot of reading before you do the writing. I didn't tell my whole story today because I didn't know how long we had, but, you know, about 16 years ago, I didn't have people inviting me to be on a Skype call or Google Hangout or whatever to share my information about books, because my family and I had been evicted from our house. We lost the last automobile that we had the next year to repossession. And in 1997, I earned so little money, a total of $14,027 for the entire year, that that I qualified for the federal earned income tax credit. So I actually was in the poverty level for a family of 5, and in that process, I had to decide whether I was going to change something about myself or whether I was just going to fall deeper into the pit that I was already in. And so I went in a voracious period of time where in a 10-year period I read 1,000 books, and there weren't any 50 Shades of Grey or anything like that in that group of books. It was all personal development books and books about my, you know, why I had allowed myself to develop a low self-esteem. And in that process, you know, I discovered that, quite frankly, that there probably wasn't any difference between me and most of the people that were achieving what I wanted to achieve, except that they believed they could achieve it. And I found that to be true with the people that I've had an opportunity to hang out with, because my success 12 years ago got me a relationship with the biggest people in personal development. Whether it's Jim Rohn or Brian Tracy or Bob Proctor, I've been on stage with all of them. I've done audios and videos with them. I even done a book with Jim Rohn. So, you know, we could do a whole call or 2 or 3 or 4 about your question. So, you know, I think what I would do is, first of all, I would find an example. I would find someone like me who's already achieved what you want to achieve. So I'm trying to think of the young lady's name. She's about 28 years old now, and she writes paranormal, young paranormal novels. And it took her about 2 years, and she created more than $1 million worth of income on Amazon after she had been rejected by 30-something publishers. And now there's a young lady who had no income to speak of. She had a very low-paying job, and I wish I could think of her name now. I would find an example, someone maybe my age, someone with my occupational background, someone with, you know, if you have a physical disability. You know, I'm always criticizing people who start talking about their ADD or ADHD as the reason why they can't succeed. I have ADD, and that's the reason I've succeeded, is because of the gifts that you get from ADD. So, you know, I would find that model, and then I would study how they overcame their challenges. You know, whether you read books about them or whether you you know, study their life in as much detail as you can, and then begin to work on yourself. Because quite frankly, I mean, let's face it, there's 1.75 million books at Amazon today. Most of them are way, way below par. They just don't deserve to be there. But they are, and the reason they're below par is because the people that wrote them didn't take the time to do what you guys are doing and learn the principles and learn the basics. They just threw something up thinking they could make money. All they're doing is getting in the way of good books. But then there's a group there at Amazon that are written by people just like everyone on this call. They could find an author at Amazon who's successful that is already publishing a lot of books. And that's what I've done. I found models, that people that I could model what they did. I could model their attitude, you know, and study how they overcame their challenges. But the reality is it's a process. So you got your 40 hours laid out there. You go through the process. Tony told me you have a call every day at 6 o'clock. That is so incredible because of the accountability factor. So if you just kind of get on the call every day at 6 o'clock, you're going to stumble around, and after 40 hours, you're probably going to be close to having a book. Yeah. And the reality is this: when you got something, even if it's not ready to go to public, if you got something, you got a beginning there. And that's the problem is that we don't even think we can get there. But I'll just make you a $100,000 promise that after you've done this process one time, you will find it was one of the easiest things that you've ever done. And that, I don't want to make you feel bad, but that's the way it is. You make it very complicated. We all do. It's not that complicated. It took me 50-something years to write my first one, and it's taken me about 6, 7 to write the next 7. So, and believe me, I could write many more than that. I could write a book every week. I just have a business that's more challenging than doesn't give me the time to do that. But I will say this: I did publish 65 books last year. Not all mine, obviously, but I published 65, and most of them were written for me, where I went out and gave someone the specifications and said, I want a book about diabetes because I don't know anything. I want a book about acid reflux because I don't know anything about that. I want a book about divorce. I want a book about how to find the right mate, whatever. I found somebody to write those books. So it's not tough. This is not rocket science, or I couldn't be doing it.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the room, and if each person can ask a question, we're going to try and give you 2 questions each. I don't know how much time you have, Vic. So we'll start with you.
57 more minutes.
Okay, Deborah, fire away. What's your question?
My problem isn't writing. I can write stuff all day. I've got novels. I've got drawer stuffers. I could spend the next 10 years publishing the novels that I've written. We've been self-publishers in nonfiction since 1988.
Cool.
So the question isn't writing the book. The question isn't publishing the book. The question is selling the book. And I'm not having any luck at all selling fiction. Nonfiction, not a problem. I've been selling nonfiction since 1988. We've probably sold 1 million of these books. But fiction, I can't seem to crack that nut.
How did you sell all your nonfiction books?
Call people up and ask them how many they want.
Okay, so you sold multiple copies to groups.
Yep.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. First of all, I'm not a fiction writer. Haven't written any fiction. Haven't sold any fiction. I'm going to go right now, and I'm going to go to Amazon and see if I can find the name. And his name is John Locke, L-O-C-K-E. And he has a...
That's the guy that sold the 99-cent book or whatever, sold 1,099,000 books or something? Is that...
No, it's how he sold 1 million books in 5 months. He was the first guy, first person to earn $1 million on Amazon. And he
Well,
wrote.
he priced them at like 99 cents, something like that, or 10 cents or something.
Well, what he did is he created what's called gateway books, and so you might have a book at 99 cents that drives people to other books, more expensive books. You really don't care how you sell the books, do you? You just want to make money or generate leads or whatever. So if you got to sell some at 99 cents, so what?
Makes a lot of sense.
If I could get
if they'll sell at 99 cents and I can make a living selling books at 99 cents, I'll do it. I just am not convinced that price point is the problem.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a new survey out that Smashwords, the founder of Smashwords did. The sweet spot right now is $3.99. That is the very best price point right now. Authors earn more money, get bigger response at $3.99 than any other price point. Now, there's a reason to do 99-cent books. And again, so you have a gateway book. So maybe you've created one book and you've got 3 other books in the series, and you want to introduce your audience to that. So you introduce them through the 99-cent books, and of course, Amazon, Apple, or whoever, once they bought the 99-cent book, is going to go show them all of your other books. That's one way to do it. John Locke, though, didn't sell all of his books for 99 cents. I liked his book. He's a fiction writer. It's about building an audience. Every time John Locke releases a book, he's got an audience that's ready to buy the book. The young lady I was trying to think of did the same thing. Her name is Amanda Hocking, H-O-C-K-I-N-G. Amanda Hocking is an amazing young lady to study. I don't know that Amanda's got a how-to book out there, but I would Google her and read everything you can about Amanda Hocking. There's also a guy named Joe Conrath, jaconrath.com, jakonrath.com. Big fiction writer, big-time fiction writer, makes $100,000, $200,000 a month from Amazon for his fiction. He did the same thing. They built audiences. Okay, so the way they built audiences, and Locke talks about this in his book, is he would have a reason in the book when the people got finished for them to go to his website. And then he got these people following him, and the process of doing that is his audience continues to grow with each book that he releases. That's one way that fiction writers have done it. And those 3 people I would study if I were a fiction writer, because they've done very well.
Well, I have heard that the best thing you can do to sell your first book is to get the second book out, which is what I'm trying to do in 40 hours.
True. So. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
We'll see.
The numbers start growing when you have multiple books, and you start selling. When they buy your latest book, they're going to go back and buy the older titles as well. Or if they buy one of your older titles, they're going to buy your most recent book. That's that philosophy is dead on accurate.
Awesome. Let's move on to Janine. Janine, you have any questions? You're going to have one question each, and if we have time, we'll come back for a second one. Janine, if you can't hear this, type your question in the chat window. We'll move on to Kate while you do that. Kate, can you talk, or are you at work today? Okay, Margaret. Kate, put your question in the chat window and we'll ask it for you.
Good morning, everyone.
Fire away.
My question is, how do you get over the mental barriers that you have in terms of content? So for me, I know I've got good content, but I keep going into some sort of doubt around it.
What kind of what kind of content is it? Is it nonfiction, fiction? Is it how-to? What kind of content is it?
Yeah, it's it's a bit of a how-to book, particularly how to help mums rediscover themselves once their children have gone to school, and it encompasses all of the things I've learned, about the universe and all my life coaching skills all in one. But I know the material. I'm just unsure of the way that I present the material.
Does the material work?
Yes.
Have you used it before?
Yes.
Has it worked for other people?
I don't know. Yes, I mean, it's universal laws.
Okay. So what is your reservation about sharing that?
The way that I present it, whether I present it in a way that's easy to understand.
Well, write a chapter and have someone read it and tell you whether they understand what your concept is.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time understanding what your challenge is. If you've got a cure for a life-threatening disease, and I can tell you that low self-esteem and all the other things that go into holding us back, that is a life-threatening disease. It'll kill every dream you'll ever have until you solve it. If you have a cure for that, and that cure could help other people, I don't know what your reservation would be about withholding that. If it's the technique of your communication, if you don't know whether or not your information is presented in a way that's easily understood, then employ an editor. There's tons of them, and they're not that expensive. Find someone who does, for a living, reworks words. Most people don't know that all the great writers have had editors. I mean, a lot of times the editors were the people that did the most work.
Yeah, true. Very true. All right, thank you.
Janine, your question is, what price point should I release my first book at?
Well, are we talking all about ebooks, or are these print books, or are they all ebooks, or what?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Janine. Fire away.
I'm talking about a full book, a 200-page book. I'd like to release it on Kindle and Amazon, not necessarily just an ebook.
Okay. So you want to release it as an ebook and as a print book?
Yes.
Okay. What is the topic?
Sorry?
What is the topic?
The title is "Get the Balls to Get Real." How to communicate. Can't even speak it. How to communicate effectively to have healthy relationships.
Okay. The reason I ask that is because, depending on what the niche is, people are willing to pay more for a book that helps them, for instance, earn more money. So Tony's a financial guy. People are probably going to spend more money for a financial book because they can earn money from the information that they get. They're probably going to spend more money for doing that than they would, for instance, maybe a gardening book. They'd spend less money on that. Although some hobbies, people spend a lot of money on their hobbies, so it depends a lot of the times. The ebook I told you just now, $3.99 is the sweet spot. I would stay away from $7.99, $8.99, $9.99 for an ebook because people confuse those with the publishers. The publishers haven't really figured out what an ebook should be priced at. So they've got all these expensive ebooks out there, and the public knows it didn't cost a lot of money to produce the ebook, and it creates a lot of ill will. When I go over into print, I just look at what people are charging for similar print books. And I'll tell you this: if you go through Amazon, if you use CreateSpace, which is a subsidiary of Amazon, if you use them to do your print book, it won't cost you anything. You just upload the book and a cover, and they will print it on demand. And I will challenge you to look at that book and tell me that it wasn't printed, in a quantity of 5,000, because they look that good. And they will sell your book for you. And here's a secret I learned. I guess it's because Amazon owns CreateSpace, but they will give you some extra promotion without you even asking for it. If your ebook is they will take your print book and they will promote it in a way that will that will encourage people to buy it. So one of my print books, they discounted the price by 34%. They took a $9.95 book and they were selling it for $6 and something. I didn't ask them to do that. It made my book obviously more appealing because it was less money, and people felt like they were getting a bargain because it said you're saving 34%. They still continued to pay me the same commission as if they were selling it for $9.95.
Oh, wow.
So I won all the way around, and I've only been able to isolate because the print books because we have some print books that are older print books that we supply to Amazon and they sell them. They don't discount them that deeply on the ones that we provide them. So I'm just guessing that it has to do with their relationship with CreateSpace and that they've got enough margin where they can do that. But I would look at what the competition gets in relationship books. So you're probably looking for a paperback at a $12.95, $13, $14.95 paperback, and you know, that would give you a nice. You'd probably make $5 or $6 each time CreateSpace sold one.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vic. Kate has just put in her question. She says, I'm writing a romance novel. My biggest challenge is perfectionism. I'm finding myself going back and rewriting. Do you have any tips on writing forward?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't go back and rewrite anything, and this is just kind of basic. And believe me, I didn't learn this stuff through any system. I didn't go to school to learn it. I didn't go to any kind of author program. I didn't participate in a program like yours. I kind of taught myself all of this, but I became a very big student, and I've studied a lot of different documents and a lot of different books and audios and videos about the process. And there's one thing you should never do. You should never go back and start rewriting anything until you're done. Go all the way through. Finish the whole thing. Don't worry about what it looks like. You'll clean the mess up later. Get it all down. You know, you may get 300 pages worth of stuff and only end up using 200 pages. Doesn't matter. Get it all down. You got to have a place to start. And I wouldn't go back and do a lot of rewriting, any rewriting, until I had it all done. Then, when I had it all done, I'd actually give it to someone else, because I want the someone else to read it. I want them to, you know, I wrote it in a way, and I wrote it from in the way that I was thinking at the time. I want someone to read it so that they can determine whether or not it flows well. Did I communicate? In your case, you know, you're writing fiction, you're writing romance. Were the characters laid out well? Were they defined well? You know, does the novel, the sequence of the novel, flow in a way that keeps the reader in the book? So I would not try to do it all myself. I would never, very definitely never, try to be my own editor. That doesn't work. And let someone else read it, even if it's someone that you're not using professionally as an editor. Let someone else read it. But join a group, maybe join an authors group in your local community, or join one online and trade out work. So you read their work, they read your work, and they mark it up and you mark theirs up. But do not go back and rewrite anything until you've got the whole thing done.
Awesome. Our next question is going to come from Cherie. Cherie, are you live? Can you speak today? Or do you want to type your question in the chat window and we'll go on to Steffi? Okay, let's go on to Steffi. It looks like Cherie. Steffi, your question?
Yeah, my question is simply, what's your opinion on, well, it's a two-part question. What's your opinion on short books, as in novellas, and what's your opinion on free books on Amazon?
I was actually on the phone today talking with a new publisher about those very things. Here's what I'm about. I'm about what the market wants. A lot of us go out and get an idea to write a book, and we think that the world's waiting for that book. And maybe that's what you do. Maybe fiction writers need that release. Maybe they just need to get that information out there. I don't know, but I'll tell you, some of the best fiction writers figure out what the public wants, and then they create their fiction around what the public wants. That's the way I do books. And so that answers the question about whether it's short or whether it's long. We are in an age now where people will go and buy a book that they can read on their lunch hour, and they'll go spend a couple of bucks to do that and be done within an hour. I've been kind of the king of short books because mine are how-to books, and all I have to do is have enough words to tell you all the way through from A to Z how to do it, and whatever words that takes, that's what it takes. I don't think people buy books like they buy potatoes or onions or steak, or they don't buy it by the pound. I've read 16 pages. One time I paid $97 for a 16-page ebook, and I made tens of thousands of dollars from the information that was in those 16 pages. And on other occasions, I paid 99 cents for a 300-page book, and I couldn't find one thing of redeeming value in those entire 300 pages. So when someone asks me how long, the answer is how long. It's long enough to get the job done. What is your goal with it? If it's a fiction novel, what does it take to develop your story and you know, take them all the way through whatever you're trying to convey? Maybe you're gonna take them to a second book. You know, maybe you continue the story or whatever. But you kind of start with the end in mind, and you know, what am I trying to achieve with this? Nonfiction books are very easy because you can do an A to Z and figure out what it's going to take in advance a little bit easier for me. I mean, I've never written a fiction book. Maybe it's easier. I don't know. But in both the fiction and nonfiction, we're seeing a lot of short books today. I've got paperback books that are 80 pages long. And they're so thin that they can't even print on the spine. So here is my latest book, and there's no printing on the spine. It's so thin. I sell it for $9.95, and it's got 52 reviews at an average of 4.5 stars, and so it's. People that buy that book are buying it for the information that's in it. How long does it take to convey that information? And that's how long your book should be. That's a real long answer, isn't it? You wanted something much shorter, didn't you?
No, that was perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Steffi. Tony, what's your question?
My question would be, Vic and I were at a meeting together a couple weeks ago, and I asked him this question, so I thought his answer might help everybody else out too. When you pick a category to list your book on Kindle, how do you figure out how to pick that category? Because you're kind of almost at cross purposes. You want to have a narrow enough niche that is long tail enough that you can command that category, but you don't want it to be so specific that nobody's ever going to go there to find your book.
Well, Tony, I don't remember what I told you last time.
Well, you had the perfect answer.
I'm going to always pick. I'm always going to pick a category that the book relates to, but it's also going to. I'm going to pick the least competitive of the categories, because what happens is when Amazon works on an algorithm, and that algorithm analyzes a lot of different things, and so we know reviews have an impact on how often they show your book. Here's the drill. You do whatever you have to do in the early stages of your book being at Amazon in order to create momentum. And once the momentum is created, you can get out of the way, because Amazon's machine's going to take over. And they're going to be, my son is a senior at University of Central Florida, sent me an email this morning, and because he bought one of my books, he thought it was pretty funny that he got this email from Amazon today offering him 5 other of my books. And he thought that was funny. Well, I love it, because that means other people got the same email today. So once the momentum's created for your book, then Amazon takes over, and their marketing machine is incredible. So when I'm looking at categories, I'm trying to figure out what category can I compete in that, number one, people can find my book in, because people go to categories and they look for books. They don't just put in a search word. In fact, I would almost venture to say it was disappointing to us, because we had a real strong search strategy in the beginning, is that people probably go to categories more than they type in search terms. And so I want to find, first of all, a category that people are going to be looking for something like what I've got. So my latest book, How to Write a Book This Weekend, is in the direct marketing category. I figured that category would attract some people that might be interested in writing a book. And it's also in an authorship category, which would be, that's a no-brainer to think of. But direct marketing, I said, okay, I can compete in this category. There is there are great books there, but it's not overwhelming. It's not a huge number of competitors there. And I was trying to get into a category that, number one, people could find my book, but also that I could dominate.
Okay. We've got a question from Chris. Chris didn't manage to come on the Hangout, but he's on Facebook, and he's just sent a question. He said, I'm interested to know what avenues to get the word out for a particular book. So now we're all thinking, we're writing these books, how are we going to sell them? How can we get our books out in a viral way?
Well, it depends on what platform you end up. I mean, if we talk a lot about Amazon, and I, of course, thank the world of Amazon. They've sold a lot of my books. But don't forget, Apple, there's a ton of ebooks sold through the Apple iBookstore. They're in 56 countries now. Don't forget about the other ones. They're smaller, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Sony, etc. There's even now, if you go in through Smashwords, which is an aggregator, there's even now the opportunity to get your books in libraries, your ebooks in libraries. And, so it depends on the platform that I'm going to go up with. And I don't give all my books solely to Amazon. I pick and choose. If I'm willing to give Amazon an exclusive, then I can do the famous Amazon launch. I can go out and do a free giveaway. And some people turn their eyes up at that, but my latest book, we had 12,000 downloads during the giveaway period. And when it came off of free, it immediately went to the top of the category. That was a month and a half ago, and it's still at the top. So the momentum that I created in that free giveaway has kept me ranked in the category now that the book is actually selling for a price. And that came from the momentum. And I created that momentum for the launch using what else? Facebook, YouTube. There are a number of free sites that will promote your book on the day that it's so you line everything up. You will do some incredible things for your book. If you've got access to other people's lists, a number of our books, we've never done anything except mail and let them know, hey, we've got this book on for 99 cents. It's only there temporarily, and from our list. And then after a week, 2 weeks, we back off, get out of the way, and let Amazon take over. So the goal, first of all, is to create momentum. How do you do that? Depends on what your strategy is. If you want to be on Apple, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Sony, Kobo, you got to have a different strategy than if you want to go do for at least 90 days. And the free promotion is worth it. It doesn't mean everybody on Amazon is going to go download it. It's like the pay. It'll turn its promotion machine on and start showing your book more. When the book is shown more people. The more people download it, the more they show it. It's a pretty cool thing.
Fantastic. We've got another member of the group who's managed to come in. Vanessa, welcome. Fire away, ask your question. There we go.
It was. Thank you. I've just been listening. I don't think I have any questions at the moment.
That's fine. That's fine. It's good that you're in. Okay, so everybody's asked, and how many more minutes do we have with you, Vic?
30.
Pages. It will take you through